Off air. There.
Yep, there we go. Hi. Thanks for coming, and I hope you enjoy the speech. Can you imagine living in a society where in order to have your OBGYN assist you during the childbirth process, you first needed to make sure she was on her period? There are many cultures around the world who have very interesting traditions surrounding childbirth. When I was pregnant with my eldest daughter, I did a lot of research on the birthing process because I was so concerned about what was going to happen. And the part that fascinated me the most was actually learning about all of these different traditions that people have. I have taken that knowledge, as well as knowledge that I have gained from doing research on the internet, and come up with a few of those traditions to share with you today. The people of Ireland, Bali, and Pakistan all have vastly different reasons for their traditions, and it's reflected in what they have chosen to do to welcome their children into the world. I'm going to start off with one of my favorite traditions from Ireland, and it involves the giving of a special headband to a little girl when she is born. They use this headband, which is either made or purchased for her, and they put it on her head for her christening, and then she saves the headband and uses it as a garter on her wedding day, which I personally think is really, really sweet. Another tradition that the Irish have is actually that they save the champagne from their wedding day, and they use it to add to the holy water that they put on their child's head during christening. Part of the information that I gained from BBC America is that they also save a portion of their wedding cake and sprinkle that on the child's forehead as well, and that is supposed to bless the child and allow for them to have a happy marriage just like their parents do. Finally, the Irish have a wonderful blessing that they say to their children when they christen them, and the blessing goes, "A newborn babe brings light to the cottage, warmth to the heart, joy to the soul, and a family is wealth, and wealth is family." This is really indicative of the Irish culture because they put a strong emphasis on children and how important they are to the family. Another thing that's really important is the innocence of a child, and that's reflected in the Balinese culture. They believe that a child is extremely innocent and that the world is filled with evil beings. For this reason, they have a lot of different traditions in place. The three biggest ones happen right after a child's born. The first is told to us on BaliSpirit.com, and it outlines that a father and a doctor are the only people who are allowed to touch the placenta. The placenta is considered the child's tie to the earth. The earth is supposed to be evil, and the child is so innocent that they need to make sure that that placenta is protected. So they bury it along with special objects that they want the child to enjoy as they're growing up. This might be a fan, it might be a book, or it might be a cat if the parents are really excited about animals and they want their child to care for animals when they grow. The next tradition that the Balinese people have, it happens 42 days after the child is born. The child is placed into a basket along with a clay pot filled with objects. Those objects reflect different jobs that are available in Balinese society. The first object that the child grasps is supposed to be indicative of what they have chosen to be when they grow up. So, for instance, they might grab a hammer, and that means that they're meant to be a carpenter when they grow. Another thing that happens at this 42-day ceremony is they observe chickens and ducks eating. That's supposed to help them learn to gather from the land the food and things that they need. Finally, when a child is 3 months old, they are able to touch the earth for the first time. What that means is for the first 3 months that a child is alive, their parents have to hold them constantly because they are innocent again and the earth is evil. And so the first time that they touch the earth that they touch has to be blessed before they can touch it. their feet are then placed onto the ground, and they are supposed to have good first contact with the earth, and that allows them to be protected fully from the evil spirits. So while the Balinese people want to protect the innocence of a child, the Kalashi people of Pakistan have a different approach to childbirth. They actually believe childbirth is extremely unclean and want to protect everyone else. So they send their women to a maternity home that is populated only by people who are menstruating. The first person to greet them has to be a woman who's already given birth, and according to the Kalashi Times, she has to wash her hands and arms up to her elbow. She then has to feed the mother-to-be a special piece of bread and say a prayer over her. After that, the mother is allowed to eat and enter into the Balashi maternity home. This maternity home, like I said, is only populated by women who are menstruating, and in this particular society, anyone who's on their period is actually sent away to this home if it can be afforded. If for some reason the mother-to-be cannot afford this service, she cannot have anyone help her give birth to her child. It's really, really hard to be a woman in this culture. But there is one really nice tradition that they have, and that comes after the child is born. For 10 days, the woman is still considered to be unclean and can't prepare food for her family. So the family has a big feast, invites lots of people, and they all provide food for the new family for the next 10 days. You can see a lot of these traditions brought into American culture. We serve our wedding cake again on our first anniversary. We bring our children lots of gifts. We bring new mothers food. And from the Balinese people, we've even started planting trees with the placenta buried with it to encourage fertility. So hopefully you've learned a little bit more about birthing cultures around the world, and you've taken to appreciate, as I have, how unique and wonderful this world is. I thank you again for listening to me today, and I hope you learned something.
Thank you. Yay! Yay!